a piece of the road to you. The road is always open to public traffic, even though it's at a dead end. It's still technically the lawful public right of way. So we just legally can't permanently obstruct a road like that.
Well, if you look at the picture, I'm not really obstructing a thing.
By definition, if it's in the street, it is an obstruction of the street. The only way for the village to do this would be to abandon the street.
Oh, okay, well, I'm trying to.
So you're saying I'm a blacktop?
Yeah, well, if the property behind this grass there, that's the spot right there.
Is
It
the
doesn't have to be on the street, that's just.
village on that grassy area?
Yeah.
That's 50 something.
Would be right.
Well, I think the village owns up until the railroad right of way, and then the railroad right of way probably takes over for 50 feet across the tracks, right?
Right, so if you look
In
at.
either case, you can't obstruct the
Right
grass.
there, the grass is right there.
Oh, park on the grass?
Yeah, put it, you can hold there, park the grass, and not obstruct the
Oh,
street.
it's not on the street, so, gotcha.
What about that grass spot right there?
Well, we'd have to hold the deeds, but I'm assuming that's in also the right of way that the
Right of
village
way.
has. Even though it's not paved, it's still in the right of way. That would also be technically most likely part of the street. I don't know why the village hasn't paved on there, probably because it's dead end. But
Oh, because it used to be a road years ago. I don't know if that's.
I don't
There was a
wanna-
railroad crossing there until 1950.
Yeah, I don't think I need to
Yeah.
overly belabor it, but this
Somebody
this
took away the
is a dead end area. It's a street. The village can't lease you a portion of the street. I mean, there's private property in the village. I would generally recommend you get a lease with
I
a
don't know
landlord.
anywhere else that, you would recommend, it's just such a perfect spot, the grass, it just seems like, I don't know, is there a way I could heal that somehow?
there's a few things that are big red flags to me. This is a temporary food truck, you wanna put up permanently.
I just don't want to have to move
I
it there.
understand that,
you know?
but we also have parking laws in the village, you cannot park more than 96 hours or you'll be towed away. That's also gonna be an issue. Then I wonder, you have to have water of some sort.
Yeah.
What do you do with the gray water? You can't just dump it in the street, where are we going with this?
Well, I thought about that, I would have something pump it out.
But that's not fair, where do you pump it to? I mean, you can't just leave it parked there permanently, it's not a permanent
Well,
structure.
if you rented a porta potty thing, like a gray water running to that, and to pump that out.
Now you want to have room for a porta potty, I mean, this is an all,
Okay, I get it, you don't want it, I understand, if you could, I get it.
well, you're
I
blocking,
know, I get it.
that's fine, if you don't want to hear any more about it, I'll leave it.
Well,
alone.
I mean, this doesn't seem like, it just seems like it's a no.
Well, definitely, I think this is a horrible idea, man.
Okay, well, I don't know what else to say, why defend it if you just hate the
Well,
idea?
there's other green spaces around town.
Absolutely is, I have no problem with the green space, but this is just. a
Well, I
bad
don't, I mean,
idea.
there's the foot traffic here that is really good, it just seems like a really good place, I just wish I had a little more warning.
I wish I had more warning.
Well, I just wish I had met and talked to you about it, instead of getting you so upset
I'm not
about it.
upset about it at all.
Well,
You're the one walking away, so I'd love to
Well,
continue the conversation.
I keep talking about it, but it doesn't seem like it seems like the conversation was empty.
No, it seems like you want to walk away when we're trying to give you other
Okay,
options.
well,
of
what
green
we going on to
spaces.
see, I'm here to talk. I mean, I found the perfect spot, and I don't know anywhere else that's gonna get that where I can walk through, I mean,
Well, I'm glad it's convenient for you, but this is obviously not a perfect spot for the
well,
village. for you.
I didn't realize that, it just
Well,
looks
that's-
like it did, I understand that, I just
That's
wish I
why
had.
you're here. But your belligerent attitude isn't
I'm
even.
not trying to be belligerent, I felt the town was just shutting it down. That's all I'm saying, I felt like, and I was like, okay. I don't know, I don't know how else to take it, maybe I took it too personally, I apologize. But I thought at this point, everybody was on board, everybody's right, everybody's like, you know, I'm not on board, but
I just heard about this 2 hours ago.
I didn't know that.
I mean,
Nobody was on board.
I understand that,
I just
I've never
meant
been to a time, I've never been to anything like this. in my life.
Right, they're just reviewing it at this point. And when I first told you, I said I thought the best idea would be on private property, because you deal with a village or a government, whatever, you got all kinds of.
Yeah,
That's what I told
I
you.
realize that.
Right, but there are other places, even in that neighborhood, that could, you don't need that much of a space, so
No,
I
know.
think you could work it out somewhere over there. I wouldn't give up yet.
I just thought it was the perfect, I mean, it just looks like something, I didn't know there was gonna be an issue, I mean, it looks, there's nothing there. I mean, if you were me walking your dog, you would say, oh my gosh, you're perfect, it's the perfect spot.
But I wouldn't,
Do
go
we
from the
have a-
storefront, that's what I did. I understand what you're trying to do, but you're looking at a spot where you can't. So it's time to broaden that parameter to figure out where you can't.
Well, now I know that, I didn't realize, I thought this was, I didn't realize,
Do we have a map of the green spaces around the village? Spaces that the village owns?
Then you gotta watch out for commercial and residential.
What would want?
Yeah.
Private owned, not village owned.
Right.
Rusty?
Yeah, well,
We're
I mean,
not-
I'm saying, we need to look at the different options. You give the gentleman other places he might put it.
Rusty?
We're not realtors, we're not business people, we're not this gentleman's manager, we don't need to look for options for this gentleman, that's his job. That's up to him. It is not a good idea, may not even be legal for the village to be leasing property to a business in this manner. It's not a good idea to do it anywhere in the village. So that's not what we should be doing for this. This gentleman needs to pursue his business and his dreams, in whatever manner he does. It's not our mission to find him a good spot.
I'm just saying, if we could show him where other green spots are.
I think the county has an agency that assists small businesses in locating things, like the chamber, for example. They'd be a good resource for you to work with to find a potential location, kind of like what Fran is suggesting.
the resident like can't be anywhere.
I don't know what they would provide.
Well,
Well,
in the village and village owned is two different things.
I don't know if you remember, I emailed you a letter on my first year, thank you for advertising that our office in Massachusetts. You remember getting that role? That's what I did for the warehouse, and we need commercials made, rebranding the, I told them that I was gonna do it for free.
Okay.
You know, Well, anyway, thank you. Thank you for listening. It was a good idea, I thought. I'll still have to take commercials if you want. I'll resend you the email.
Okay,
All right,
awesome.
have a great night, everybody.
You too.
Thank you too.
All right. We do all our public comment? I think so. Let's do, well, no, let's do the shared services thing, so Doug doesn't have to stick around here.
Oh, yeah.
Doug can-
Thank you.
All right, Doug, go for it.
Okay, so, see, a couple things, I put the May meeting that I talked to you all do.
Yeah.
And, we passed a resolution for the shared services, the application for the grant. Since then, we've done a bunch of work, pulling together costs and estimates and stuff like that, so, like our telephone has been through, we've got quotes for phones, we've got quotes to do the interconnects for all your buildings, and all those things like that. I think I compiled a bunch of that together, I sent that to Mayor, forwarded it out to all of you, so I kind of assume everybody sort of reviewed these at a high level when I wrote them.
Yeah, it might save us about $5,000.
So $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and I keep lots.
Yeah.
Pretty significant for your side.
Great.
So but one of the things that, and I've already mentioned this in May, is that your timeline. So if you want to meet a timeline of having kind of on IT shared services before you move into your new building, we're gonna have to start kind of like now. At least some of the portions of it. So like the interconnect between all of the various buildings, they'll take somewhere between like 60 and more like 90 to 120 days. good news is that, they're surprisingly inexpensive. So, to interconnect all of the 5 village buildings, was the quote for that, about $14,000.
And that includes the new one.
That includes, well, it includes this building.
This one.
Would be, yeah, so in that setup, we would do, basically an MOU with the county, because for the 5 buildings in the village, we would just extend the county's fiber, our existing fiber is on poles already.
Yeah.
We would extend that to various buildings, so that the village would sign an MOU with the county, to use those for, 10 years, or whatever it is. And I don't think there's going to be a charge for it, because we just all work out the shared services, and it's unused capacity on our side. There's the sewage treatment plant. I got a quote from the Tier Network, which is the dark fiber network that runs through the region, and they happen to be in front of the sewage treatment plant on Southside Drive. So extending that into extending Southern Tier Network into the treatment plant and connecting it to 56 Main Street, where their hub is here, is only like $5,000. And then it carries a $350,000 a month carrying cost, but on the net, looking at all your bills, you're going to start. So right now, you're paying like internet service like there, and a peak building right now, and phones and utilities. So all those various bills start going away. And as you interconnect buildings, you can merge all these things together. And so you chop like internet service, police station, internet service, each one of those places. That will more than make up for the $350,000 a month carry for the sewage treatment plant, and you don't really carry any cost on the internal stuff with the county. So what I would like to do, and I think I forwarded this, and I think the attorney is get a copy of it anyways. It's still being titled review it, but that's fine. But what I discussed was that I think it would be advantageous for the village board to, approve going forward with signing shared services on the contingency that after the attorney, the village attorney, has no issues.
And I did have a chance to review it. I know it came through the clerk's office, I think, on Friday, but I know Kim said for Monday's meeting if possible. So
Yeah.
he takes some time to look at it. No, that's okay. I mean, it's something that needs to be done. I don't have any issues with the documents that are sent over. I think you guys are good to move forward for my end.
Yeah, so.
Does this also include, emergency services to the county? From EMS and fire and police? The connection with the county, 911?
Oh, that's our shared dispatcher. Well,
Will that be included?
but those they use phone lines now.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I'm not sure I followed yet.
Okay.
You have dispatch like in the village police station?
No, we don't rely on, we have.
They're all connected.
Okay, so.
But it's utilizing the lines that are currently, the phone lines and data lines and stuff that are currently in place.
Well, so the 911 system, like we call 911, yeah, already.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, what I think we would do here is, I want to be able to sign contracts for leasing the 2 fiber bills. They're about $20,000, and I think that like I said, even if you do or you don't get the grants, they make a ton of sense for it. Building those laterals between all your buildings, no matter what you do, it's like easy money.
Yeah.
As you say. So, I don't see any real issues moving forward with that, and if we get them signed off, like they should be built by October/November timeframe, and we'll be able to do the work on getting usually the way it's supposed to be cut your internet services over, so you keep the existing computers, the internet, and we absorb it on the county's network and use like the county's internet services, and then the next step usually is the phones get cut over onto the county's phone system, and then the final step is the computer system gets cut over and swap out all the computers.
And there is an option for the grant that would be like $31,000 or something like that to pay for those hard conversion costs.
So assuming we get a grant, and like the planning director of the county is like, we're gonna get a grant. I mean, so I want to oversell, but I also don't want to undersell.
Yeah, okay.
It is highly likely we will get a grant. There's there's no specific reason why we wouldn't. The numbers look really good on the spreadsheet. Exactly the type of thing I want. Yeah. In that scenario, all of those costs, that the $20,000 bill, the new phone system, all that stuff, it's all taken care of. It's capital expense. So any part of that we can fit into that grant. The state considers that easy money to achieve the savings.
Is that $5,000 from sewer plant be included in that, or do we have to come up with that?
It would be included. Yeah. So the only part of that the village would carry after the fact is the monthly cost. So they'll pay the upfront capital cost, not any recurring cost.
Except we'll have to kind of pay for it and then hopefully get it back. That's how it'll end up timing out.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the county funds you the money anyways. As long as we're still waiting for the grant, the county has enough fund balance to make this fund small.
Right.
And we just settle it up. Otherwise, then we pay it, you pay the bill. We're just swap checks.
Send us one bill, right?
Right, well, I would make a motion that we adopt the shared services resolution so that we can pursue this.
The monthly fee at the village was $350. You said
That's for the sewage treatment plant. The other buildings, normally there would be some cost with them, but just by virtue of the fact that the county offices are all here, and the county already owns fiber on all the poles, the county is willing to do an MOU with the village to utilize some of the unused portions of the county's fiber.
So really, you're the only one that's got a company distance, I guess, right?
Yeah.
there was talk that I'm going to have to keep some Verizon lines as well for the SCADA system.
We'd have to analyze how your system is set up. And so, sometimes we get scenarios where they still need a hard line, copper phone line, a telephone line, to be coming into the building to connect that. We need to dial into it, your phone number. So we can accommodate that by keeping a Verizon line. But your internet would go out. You no longer need DSL.
And you'd be connected at good speed.
Fun to watch all those YouTube videos.
Yeah. All your free time.
You got a motion.
How to fix the sewer.
Motion and second.
Yeah, I interrupted.
All right.
I have a question.
All right.
Okay. If we have, if the grants don't cover all the equipment, installation, all the stuff, can we use some of the economic recovery funds towards that?
No, probably not.
Other capital. They would all be capital expenditures.
Because I know, internet.
Yeah, but that's complicated. It's like broadband for the village, not for the government entity of the village.
For the whole business.
Right.
Like if we're gonna
Yeah,
put
one's
Wi-Fi
for
things on
residents, the
our
other is for the-
poles, kind of thing.
Okay.
Rusty?
For my copies of my, in my tech advisor, think this is a good idea.
I was gonna save us money, so. And give us better service.
Yeah, so, at the end of the day, it's a very positive. I would see it from the experience here, it's very positive for all parties involved. The county helps us spread out our costs a little more. With the village, you're gonna see a significant increase in the service that you have. All of a sudden, all your buildings are connected, they'll all be connected with high-speed fiber, there'll be high-speed internet, you'll have one common phone system across the entire village, where you can actually call anywhere in the county with it as well. So you can take a phone in Owego and call Waverly. We're all on the same phone system. It's all common amongst it.
Is there like extensions for that? Or how
Yeah,
does
you can
that-
extend that here, Waverly.
And the benefit of the village is that, the county has vast resources compared to us,
Right.
so we're piggybacking on that. Essentially, I don't
You
think
know, Ron's office has to put out a list of extensions.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, so
We need a chart.
The things like the county's backup system, things like that, are just things like we're able to afford stuff because we're at scale. So we can buy and do that, you guys really can't. We have a multi-site backup plan that has the ability of if the thing blows up, we can go over to the public safety building and restore all the servers and bring everything up, and the systems up. And, we maintain for all of our primary buildings as a rig configuration. So like if somebody with a telephone pole gets cut down on North Ave, our network actually
There's a redundancy.
It'll go back the other way.
Well, what is the average response time if there is an issue with IT? Like, when can we expect to see somebody coming in to correct the problem?
So it all depends on what the issues really are. So there's always somebody answering the phone. So we can call the help desk at the county. The person who answers typically is David Ayers, who's been there for many years. And he is not just like oh yeah, well, let me give you your ticket number and call you back later. He helps with most problems unless it's something that he can't help with. He's visually impaired, so he can't come to your site. So
It's not in my typical spectrum when I call and wait 3 days.
Yeah, I know,
hopefully they show up and give me a 10-hour window.
I would say the short answer is the immediate issue, whether it be.
Figure to sum it up.
Yeah. We figure it out. But yeah, so yeah, in general, the county IT staff is, there's nine, currently it's 8 people, we're approved at 9. We're accepting resumes for that.
Everybody's accepting resumes right now.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the resolutions. I think there's a couple of them, right? Just threw my pen on the ground. Do you have any more discussion on it? Besides, if you have Spectrum, you should check in the Plexicon in the village.
Green light now.
Green, whatever they call it. Way better than Spectrum. I don't have Spectrum, so they can't cut my service.
Are we doing a resolution of time, is it a package, how we doing? More than one resolution, you said?
I didn't print them out to bring with me, so I don't recall how they were sent.
So I mean, typically the
I happen to have it right here.
board votes to authorize the executive to sign a shared services agreement pending the approval of the legal agreement by the village.
Yeah, so there's a shared services
I'll make
agreement,
my
and then
motion to that.
Well, except there's no need for it to be contingent on my review. I reviewed it.
yeah, there's no. That's the only thing I have to sign.
Yeah.
No, there's only one resolution I have to sign.
That's what I thought.
What agreement?
Yeah,
One resolution to make.
shared
authorizing
services resolution. Yeah. But the other stuff is just supporting, documentation for the agreement. All right, so let's vote on that. Fran,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Tech Rusty, yes.
Yes.
and yes.
Before you move on, I did want to make sure to discuss with mentioned. So I am moving on. I report back. Make sure everybody knows.
First, congratulations.
Thank you.
That might have been a deal breaker. You couldn't have closed it 2 minutes ago.
I know.
Turn you over to my
The wheels are extra. Yeah. No. So I'm here through the end of the month, and I will be helping out. Obviously, I'm here, so sorry, I'm going very far. And we have high level of the staff is highly trained. They all know their jobs very well. We're very well practiced at this. We have a very smooth operation. When I'm going to room, they don't have exactly a smooth operation, and they do but we're interviewing for my successor this week. I'm part of that process. The county legislature is very firmly in support of all the things that we're doing in these types of projects in particular. So, there's a lot of effort being made to make sure that my successor, who of the candidates we have, there's one that seems like the favorite. We'll see if that turns out and everything's done. But particularly that gentleman, I know full well will be carrying on this type of effort too. So I think overall, there should not really be any significant changes.
Rusty?
Just heard some rumors, and maybe something will come of this, or maybe it's just nothing, that maybe, somebody who up in Boone County may try to put some shared service between a couple of counties. Who knows how that might go?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, we actually, we did discuss that at the kind of level early on. And the problem is that you get a big person, little person problem where, you know, the room is so much larger than Tioga that, and everybody gets gross. So as soon as, like, somebody is at room and Tioga calls, then Tioga's upset, they're not getting best response, and then vice versa, you know, so that you run into problems where it becomes very difficult to successfully integrate the operations without irritating both parties at various intervals. Maybe that'll change if the time comes where rooms operations, I don't want to compare it to rooms operations somehow being like a mess or not, but you know, like, part of the reason I was asked over there was they need their leadership, and you know, so we'll see what happens with their leadership and you know, a little bit of time in that role. But yeah, I mean, anything is possible, but it doesn't seem like.
Be sandwiched in the middle.
Schmucks.
Here's the next question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Doug.
All right, so I'll follow up with you, and we'll get all that signed up on, and then we'll get, you know, kind of released on the various questions too. So, and my successor will be briefed on all this stuff, and that will prove Griffin.
Okay.
So, multiple people up and down the chain know the routine.
Perfect.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Okay, so now we'll go back to department head reports. Rob?
Last Monday night, as everybody knows, the, Great Chassis ambulance came in. Narcotic safes are in, still waiting for the, we're getting the radios put in here shortly. I gave Jeff the paperwork for the license and registration month, or Tuesday morning, and I haven't heard anything back, and I did talk to Rob about that. So maybe they can, get the stuff from him and get it going. Also, Dr. Rev just came today, our medical director, and he signed off on our narcotics, so that went well. There was a glitch in how it went out for a list for a replacement for Linda. Linda's an ALS provider. We didn't want anything lower than an ALS provider, we wanted ALS or paramedic. And the list we received was all ACEs. So now the process has started over again, and the woman is on vacation for this week. That's supposed to be getting the list, and it's going to be real close. The fact that Linda's done on second. So, but we're still not going to jump to just any, you know, we're going to be careful in our selection because of it. Also, it was brought to my attention yesterday, as a matter of fact, that we have no phone service at the station, or to be able to use the phone or fax. We can get calls in, but we can't put any out. I don't know what the deal is. So I don't know what can be done about that, but we can't receive fax, so if case sheets are coming, we're not going to get them.
Uh-huh. Have to call somebody with that. Can you ask him?
We're going to be doing training on the ambulance itself because the new treasure system that we got a grant for is totally a different animal than what we've had. And the other items that we added in there for everybody's safety and convenience for their bodies and our it's going to take some training, but it should, in the state, will be notified as soon as we have the license and registration and that we're going to go, because we'll put the radios right in and they should be able to check it out so that we can get that primary. So, other than that, I don't think I really have anything. But at the same time, should the insurance be canceled on the owner? Well, yeah, I gave him back his title, and so it's that part of our insurance. Yeah, this is going to be The insurance has already been changed $250,000 for that particular ambulance because of that new lift system. The other ones aren't insured for as much because they don't have the bells and whistles that need to be replaced. So that I know already got done because they had to approve that to get the title that we received. So that part was done. And for the next, I think it's 24 hours, our systems are down. So when a call comes up, you're not going to see it. You have to have like you have that.
The county
Yeah,
systems, yeah.
so it's
They were down all day.
Yeah, totally dependent on the other operating and get the system switched over, which they notified us it was gonna happen. But, we won't get run numbers, we won't get
Yeah,
details of where we're going or anything like that, other than the old fashioned way of listening to your patients.
Right. They're logging everything by paper, I guess, today.
Yep, and then when it's back up again, we can probably get all the run numbers. Because at this point, it makes it difficult that we cannot complete our PCRs. Basic care reports, because you have to have a run number on there, when you complete it. So, it causes the balls to occur, you don't have any real critical problems.
You're kind of going in blind, essentially.
Kind of.
Just whatever they get over the radio today.
Yep, yep.
So what was the answer to Frank's question about the,
Loaners all turned back in.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it's-
Main insurance.
Insurance.
Yeah,
Cancel that.
it's all switched to the new one.
so it's been canceled.
I don't know, it's not switched until the other one gets down there and they put on, because it's the same quote unquote number, right? They haven't done the registration insurance on the new one yet.
I just asked.
So that's what I'm saying. So, if you still have the insurance.
I don't know if we have.
Gone back.
We're trying to do a swap rather than
Yeah,
cancel
we
and restart.
still liable for the last week of insurance on that?
That's why I brought it up.
I don't know.
Check into it.
So not it for me, I don't know. Well, I have another question on that. EMS, we opened a checking account several months ago, and then we opened a savings account. Why is it that the MedX funds are not going into that checking account yet? We've got $25 that sat there from originally opening the account.
That's for the next fiscal
When
year.
does their season start?
Why is checking
When does
account?
their season start? August. Hey.
All those accounts for next.
They
fiscal
start in
year.
August. $25 is the fee to open the account. That's all it is. Can't take money from this year.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not talking about the reserve. I'm talking about the checking
That's what I'm
account.
talking about. It doesn't start till August. So I can't put money in there till August. After August. You have better suggestions, let me know. Okay, that's next fiscal year.
All right, well, we'll find out in September if it's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. We also took a ALS provider that has been an ALS provider for years and is now been reinstated as an ALS provider. It was signed off tonight by Dr. Evans. Unfortunately, it was under this meeting. And we don't know what the case is going to be on that before we can utilize the ALS ability for covering. So,
For us ignorant people, what is ALS?
advanced life support.
Thank you.
BLS is basic life support.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have him up and running. But at least he's been, the state will send me out an email and process through that. Which he was for years, so it's just a matter of re-implementing.
Person?
Tomorrow, there's supposed to be, people coming on site to start the startup process of the UV process.
Okay.
I've been told it's gonna take anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks to do the startup process, so. Don't foresee any issues, the electricians have gone through the full checklist, everything checks out and everything, so. Like you say, they're supposed to be on site tomorrow morning to start that process. And
So, the nice thing about that is that means that project's basically done. That was a hunt project.
Correct.
And we've heard almost nothing about it, which is awesome.
Correct. And it's looking like there's gonna be a phase 2 to that project, which will be a new generator for the plant. So,
Right, because there was unused grant money.
right. So,
Something you tried to do about a year ago, we were talking about this. Because we've been hiring anyone in the early 80s or something, last one?
yeah, early 80s and having some cooling issues, as far as overheating issues with it and such. So this will be the final straw, the final addition to the upgrades at the plant. But, so it'll be good. Like you say, there's some grant money available left in this project. So EFC has already approved the generator add-on to the project. And things are moving forward there with
Just
that.
as a control or anything? I don't know what else we can do over there.
It is.
The only problem with the generator is getting it.
That's going to be the biggest issue, yes, is time delay, along with basically everything else in this world right now.
Right.
That's going to be an issue. The only other thing I had was back on the 7th, we had the bid opening for the force main project on Green Street. Chicago Construction came in its low bid. I reviewed, looked through things. Hunt reviewed, did their complete review on it. And they sent back a recommendation to the village to approve Chicago Construction.
Yeah, so that's, their bid
You need
was,
a motion from us or a resolution from us to do that.
right, for me to sign this.
Mayor, sign.
Their bid was $58,000.
I'll make a motion. No, I'll second.
Stop stepping on my toes there.
You're used to being here.
You gotta jump in real early when you're on Zoom.
That's true.
Right, I got it, all right.
All right, any discussion on it? I mean, 58,000 was right in line with, what Hunt thought it would be.
Right, with the
So it's actually a little lower than they thought it would be, so it's a good deal. Especially in this.
So if you want to jump that thing, you better do it now.
Yeah, jump it now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my bike out there.
Hamburger bell?
With my hamburger bell. I'll ring
Just
my hamburger
remember,
bell.
there's no calls going out, okay?
Pay
No
attention,
details, it's
pay
where
attention
you
to the,
walk.
pay attention to the pager a little bit later. No. Fran?
Oh, yes.
Good, okay.
Where's
Ed?
Yes.
Joe? Or not?
Laura?
Yeah.
Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And yes. Snyder?
That's all I have, unless somebody has something.
I'll do a new one for you.
Very well.
Good?
Yes,
It's nice seeing you in person again.
and everybody.
And Ed, it was impressive.
Like a reunion.
Yeah. Jeff sent his report in. Not here tonight.
See you, Tracy.
Did we get any, did you talk to the police chief, Rusty?
Yeah, of course, we have the bumps.
Right.
And we. No, well, no.
Yeah. You got anything?
Texas, we come out, couple weeks.
We always get popular.
Yeah.
Tax bills come out.
Mike, I do have some things for fire.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Um,
Had it on my list.
There is a resolution here to create a reserve fund for SDVA here. People may have thought a couple of minutes back and just whether we wanted it to be be this specific or not this specific, this particular thing says it is for exactly the acquisition that's CPA here. So if you wanted to do anything else in that.
Broader. Broader than that.
Yeah, if you wanted it to be. Well, you said you couldn't do it for
Yeah,
maintenance.
maintenance isn't something that you should be, you can't establish a reserve for maintenance. That's a typical budget thing that you should just be doing in your.
It's gotta be
normal
equipment or something, right?
It needs to be the purchase of something.
Yeah.
I mean, there are repair reserves, but typical maintenance thing is typically what I would consider a repair. Like a repair reserve is like your building broke somehow and the wall collapsed.
Replacement, some of the, he says like the breathing tubes.
Well, I don't know. Now we're getting real nitty gritty about that. So I'd have to like really understand what is it that we're talking about to say, okay, yeah, we could use this reserve for that. Generally, the way the reserve will work is it's for the purchase of the SCBA gear itself. So if we can argue that a breathing tube fits into this definition, then okay. But
Bottles.
yeah, maybe the bottles, that type of thing.
But I think that would be here, right, as part of the pack.
So generally though, so this is what's called so there's two types of reserve funds, general and then type. So this would be a type, which is specifically for this thing. In this case, the SCBA year. You can't use the money for anything else. This resolution would be subject to permissive referendum today, and then in 10, 15 years when we need to replace the gear, you can authorize use of the reserve, and you don't have to wait the permissive referendum period in 15 years from now. It's just very restricted what you can do with the money because it is only for that one specific thing. If we have a reserve for the fire department that says equipment,
Which is what we get.
which I think is what we
We
have,
use that for this.
yep, then that resolution was at the time you chose to spend the money subject to permissive referendum. So it just means that it's 30 extra days that we have to wait, well, potentially if it goes to a vote one year, but at the end, purchase decision, there's more time that needs to go by, which sometimes, I mean, I know it's been frustrating to all the department heads, but I'm like, well, wait a second, can't purchase it today. We gotta wait, more time.
So just to level jump on this tempest.
What is the current, reserve fund for the fire department?
Says equipment.
So it
And
could cover
we
this
did
stuff,
use
right?
it to cover this, but then it
Yeah,
required us to have.
A year ago, or 2 years ago.
It required us to have the 30-day progressive referendum. What they just said was that if we make this one specific to this, and then X number of years from now, we want to spend money out of that is specific to this, we don't have to have another progressive referendum.
But it's gotta be for this.
It has to be just for this.
So you're retitling the reserve fund already
No.
there?
No, this will be a
Creating
new,
another.
this is a new reserve fund. If we decide to put any money into it over the course of time for SCBA's in the future, that money will be only used for them. And we could put that in the regular fire reserve instead. And they said we would just have to follow the process in 30 days. If we suddenly wanted to buy 5 of them and get the money in this, we wouldn't have to wait at all. It's not that it's necessary, but it's just a.
So you're changing another line item in the budget.
That's adding on.
It would add to the regular fire reserve.
So you're adding to the budget.
No, you're just adding a line there. So you would have to decide whether you want each year to put, just as you want to put any money into the fire reserve or anybody's balance reserve. You want to put any money next year in the budget into a SCBA reserve.
So this is something that would take effect a year from now?
Well, we've already made the budget for this year, although we could have meant it if we had,
Right.
if we had some reason to put money in there. We just bought 25 new ones. They're supposed to last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
But
There is a line in there for
There is a line for-
$1,500 or
for
something like that.
SCBA, so we would take that out of that line and put it in reserve. There was some reason that we
We've
wanted
got
to
for
do that.
next year's budget $1,500.
Okay.
So this is not making us have to put any money anywhere. It's just
Giving us the option.
It
it's just another
secures,
account for the ladies and gentlemen staff.
Well, dedicates that might only be used on those things. If we dump it in the equipment reserve, we could use it for any equipment. Use it to buy helmets, coats.
I mean, I think the discussion was that a year ago that the board had, and I think the fire chief had said, like, I think the board was reluctant to use that money in the broader equipment reserve because it's a lot of money. And so the chief's thought was if there's a specific reserve that's set aside for the SCBA gear, which we know is going to cost a lot of money, then at least we're thinking about saving money for it so that it's not a big surprise to everybody in 20 years when we've all forgotten about it. Like, oh, how much? Because there's a specific reserve and you're talking about it.
Yeah, and one of the issues that came up in that, it was 2019 discussion, was that we had not reserved for this at all. And we knew, I mean, everyone knew it was coming 15 years ago. And we just didn't do it about it.
So we're being proactive for our predecessors.
Yeah, so you're hoping to be able to buy a couple of it every year. Replacement.
No, because we shouldn't wear out. We got all brand new, and we shouldn't wear out.
They should all wear out at the same time.
This is
That's just the problem.
This is
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
this is just having a separate fund for it, and then it kind of keeps your brain going that and maybe each year we should put something into it to plan ahead.
And future boards could say they don't want to put anything in it. And that's, but at
So
least,
it really has no particular downside to it. Right. You can never put anything to it if you don't want to.
The only downside is if we dump money into it, we can only use it for that.
only use it for that, right?
So then
It's not really a downside because we have to buy those things.
But if you trust yourselves to really put enough money away in your broader type, or excuse me, your broader general reserve, then great. It's just, do you trust yourself to put in enough money for everything that you need 20 years from
This board trusts itself as being
now? The next
20 years from now.
Right.
Yep.
in that general reserve already, we're gonna bash that down to buy a fire truck.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that general reserve gets beat up heavily when it gets beat up, so.
It's one of those things, when it comes up, we need them.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense to put pennies in that bucket.
you wanna do this? All right, I'll make the motion that we establish a capital reserve for future purchase of SCBA.
I'll second.
Right?
Yep.
So, and then, okay, so they did put that in. Just so everyone's clear, the estimated maximum cost that's being authorized for the reserve is $250,000. So you won't be able to put more than $250,000 into the reserve. That's the total amount max that you can
If
put.
we had $250,000, we wouldn't be worried about this.
I'm just pointing it out, that's a piece of
That's
it.
part of the resolution, I didn't read it all to you.
In 20 years.
Yeah, maybe in 20 years.
Yeah, that's
we'll
right.
have-
Fingers crossed.
That's right.
So moved.
Any discussion on that? And there's,
Fran,
Fran,
second.
Fran?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And yes.
One more thing from the fire chief just told it to me
Okay, so I know about this.
2 minutes ago. Has interest in the fire department fixing, repairing, maintaining one of the structures in Marvin Park. When you go up from the grandstand, I don't know who knows Marvin Park, you're behind the grandstand, you're going left, and there's a tiny little building that the Moose does food in, and then there's another
Shed.
bigger building along the track that used to always be the beer tent, and then past that is the big building with stuff, skating.
Right.
So it's the second building there, and the fire department had, apparently it's in bad repair, the fire department was asking or willing to, we'll say, take over that building, repair it, maintain it. I'm not sure exactly what he wants the fire department to have some.
They want to be able to use it.
Oh, like it could be their station.
Well,
During the fair.
they want to use it for chicken barbecues and whatever, not even during the fair, but
This is the nonprofit.
Yeah, so I.
It's like a little garage looking type thing.
it's like it looks like a food tent almost. It's got like the little porch coming off the front of it, metal
Okay, yeah,
roof.
yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly what authority they want to, when I say own it, they won't own it, but to have some degree of control, or if they fix it all up, they want to be able to use it. So I don't know exactly
They just want to be able to use it
for things.
when the fair isn't
I
there
don't think they
or
just want
whatever.
to, I don't think they just want to use it when the fair is going.
No,
They want to be able to use it
Yeah, that's what
for various things,
year round.
so I don't know how we give them that kind of permission or authority.
If the chief or the fire nonprofit group can send an email to me just outlining here's what we want to do, then, I mean, I would call it probably like a license for them to utilize that structure, and we'd fill in with the description of what it is that they're looking to do, and then the board would authorize that. I mean, in exchange for them to fix it up.
Yeah, because I don't, I think they want to do this now,
Yeah.
because he told me this is today, I need this, because everything is, we always need everything today,
Yesterday.
from everybody.
Well,
So,
they-
but you want to do
their
it now for the fair,
theory is they want to fix it up before the fair.
before the fair, so I want to fix it right now for
So
the fair.
that's not even a month away.
Right.
I'm just telling you what he's going.
That's why he wants to know if we're on board, so they can like do it this weekend
working
kind of
on
thing.
it.
Okay, so with the,
They're
fair committee still
they're
own the
donating.
property?
No, the fair committee doesn't own it, they just get to have it for 2 weeks.
That's our pavilion.
Yeah, the village owns all of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
If the fire nonprofit is willing to donate its time and materials to fixing that up, then
You probably say yes, right?
I don't think there's an issue with the village board saying that. And, I mean, what's the process for any group to reserve use of a building in the fairgrounds like that?
over
DPW.
there, Rotary did the, ice skating rink for just the winter time, so there's the shed that has the, stuff to lay the, ground stuff, you know, the scripting and the sides. And that's all stored in there, and so that was a nonprofit sort of, you know, just storage of materials in there, and, to hook up electricity for it, they supplied the electric to just that building. The Rotary to pay. And so like that's all on village property in the fairgrounds and just used temporarily for purposes. I mean, it was for ice skating for the village to, you know, everybody could do for free, but, you know, to create the shed with the storage materials.
So I'm gonna make
And that is
some kind of a motion here.
just for reference, there are pavilions over there we rent like for parties. This is not one.
I'm gonna make a motion, and you'll tell me if this passes muster. And I'm not making it, a second, along the lines of authorizing the mayor to approve an agreement with the the Corporation of the Fire Department to fix and repair that in exchange for whatever language we should figure out. At his discretion. Can I make
This is
that
the
motion?
motion you're talking about.
No,
No, it's
it's
the
the fire department.
corporation of the fire department.
Yeah, the nonprofit
Yeah.
entity that is the fire department.
Those team has nothing to do with this. So, will that kind of motion work that, what I just said?
I think for short-term purposes, if the village DPW authorizes groups to utilize those buildings, then Jeff could do that with the corporation of the fire department on this short-term basis to say, you guys want it for the fairgrounds, have at it. It's on you to fix it up because it's not in great repair. And then if for a longer term, if what they're looking for is, I don't know, using it as a staging area for chicken barbecues or doing what else.
Yeah, different,
yeah, we
wouldn't
would
expect
just,
very much.
yeah, but I think that maybe that piece of it comes back to the board to approve like a more longer term relationship. But you're right, the fair's a month away, they want to get in there now. DPW approves these types of things anyway. So let Jeff approve it.
I guess we do a resolution of approval, support, whatever of the plan, just so they, I don't,
Acknowledge that if they're going to be an annual approval.
no, eventually we'll make an agreement and it'll be just a thing.
Yeah, there'll be an actual agreement.
Yeah,
We're not gonna
I
have
guess
that
the thing
tonight.
for the board to do would be to accept the gift of labor and materials made by the fire department corporation. And then, they're basically saying, we'll make this gift to you, but here's a condition on the gift.
In
which is
exchange for
that-
their immediate use of it, right?
Yeah.
We just need a memorandum of understanding about what they're using
For the long-term piece.
for the long term.
So how do we do?
Well, that's where I think my thought is the short-term piece of it, Jeff can handle the details of it. At the next board meeting, the village can approve or accept the gift or whatever it is. So that way things can start happening now.
They want to do it before.
Well, but that's my point.
Well, they can start working on it tomorrow, but we're not gonna have a resolution ready until, some point in the future. Jeff can tell them, go ahead and do this, and
We'll accept your gift to us.
I think that the caveat is that they don't want to do this work and then.
Then they get the rug pulled out. Yeah.
They're gonna say that we're not gonna let them have
What do we
some
say?
degree of control.
We would
I just feel like that.
have,
that
then
really
you have
ambiguous.
release of it for a year.
It's the first we've heard of it. We have no idea what they want to do with it. I'm assuming it's legal stuff.
Right.
I mean, but I have no idea. I just wish there was somebody, I don't know if you're out on the wall or whatnot, but.
That's why I was trying to do it in the form of, the mayor and the attorney had the authorization to do it. That's a form. But we're not gonna-
Well, and again, I guess that's where I would half rely on Jeff's discretion in controlling who does what to the buildings over there, and Jeff to talk to the fire folks about what is it exactly they're planning to do, yes or no, makes sense or not, and then at the next and then let them do it, knowing that the village is generally amenable to accepting whatever gift anybody wants to make.
Jeff will want direction for that. He won't do that unless we tell him.
My only other question would be, would this limit other entities using that building in the future?
Well, and that's the piece of it that we'd have to work out for the long term,
Yeah.
Understanding of like, all right, how much exactly are they looking for? So I guess if
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys
Next reunion.
next reunion.
so maybe it would be a board motion to authorize Jeff as DPW supervisor to
Negotiate with the fire department.
well to delegate authority to Jeff to negotiate with the fire department the short-term use of the building in exchange for use of the building by the fire corporation during the fair. And then that resolves the immediate piece. Jeff can just do it all. Something that he would do anyway. It's just that, interestingly, they're kind of like the Rotary. I'm not sure how that exactly got arranged. And then the long-term piece of it, the mayor and Jeff can sort it out. Because otherwise, we just don't know.
I hear you. I'm still telling you, Jeff doesn't want to have it be up to him. He wants us to tell him whether we want him to do that. And that's just generally what Jeff wants. He wants us to tell him whether he wants us to do it. Whether we want him to do it or not. He doesn't want us to say, hey, Jeff, go out, figure it out.
Well, so then maybe the motion is authorize the mayor to do that, but then the mayor delegates it to Jeff.
In support of the project.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the board is generically in favor of this as a concept. Ron's point is, I don't know enough about like what they're actually looking to do, but that's where I'm trying to solve it by.
Yeah, well, I think we need a time period set too. That's a burden.
They maintain it. I mean, it basically needs to be rebuilt.
Do we have the confidence that the mayor will ask the right questions and do what we expect him to want him to do? Do we want to ask him to do it and delegate the authority for him to make a somewhat short-term, mid-term agreement if it's going to be years and years or whatever, we'll come back to us. Do we want to delegate, if you want to do it, do we want to delegate?
Whatever you guys want to do.
But you're not asking for exclusive use of the building, right?
I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking for the mayor to work that out. I'm not trying to come up with all those things right now because we already know we can't come up with all those things right now. So I'm just asking for the mayor to use his judgment on what kind of agreement for the moment will satisfy them, get them to fix it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because the thing's basically falling down.
Right now, it's pretty much unusable.
Yeah.
So I just defer to.
But it's not something we
He's not
rent.
gonna give away, he's not gonna give away the scope.
It's not something we rent out
We
anyway.
can't come up with the details at this time, and they want something, or else they're not gonna fix it. You wanna do this?
I think they said they got, actually I talked to Jimmy about it over the weekend. I think he said they gotta put like, I'm thinking like $5,000 into it to fix it up. Cause yeah, it needs new beams and some roof stuff, and he wants to get it repaved under there, blacktop.
parameters, then. You can't just say carte blanche, you can use it forever without rent.
Well, that's where we're gonna lean on the mayor to make that decision.
I mean,
Keep saying that we want to give the mayor that authority to make whatever deal he makes for whatever time frame he makes right now. We won't give away the store and tell him, I assume if you have confidence he's not going to do something like that. I want to give the mayor that authority to take care of this in the interim and see what he can, what they have to have, what he can negotiate right now, and then later we can
and I mean,
potentially come up with a.
I would say every nonprofit that comes and wants to use the park, we let them do it for free rent anyway.
This is getting more out of
There's
this.
valid reasons to do that.
Right.
You know, it's,
So
Well, I don't think we should be able to say they have exclusive use of the building. You know, if other people want to use the building, you don't have something going on.
Well, the caveat there is if they're gonna fix it, 'cause right now it's unusable, that's kind of a spit in their face. Yeah, fix it up, and now we're gonna let everybody and their brother use it. But it is village property, so I feel like it should be an exclusive.
one more time. Do you have confidence that Mike Barretta will talk to the fire chief and come up with a proper temporary solution for this of what we're going to allow at this time, and then later we can, he can come back to us and say, okay, this is what I came up with, this is what we're gonna do now, and this is what I recommend for 10 years from now, or whatever. Do you have confidence in the mayor to do that? I don't know, I'm just.
That's a motion.
If you don't, then.
Well, I have confidence in the mayor, we need some parameters, you know?
And he will
I
set
can't carte
parameters.
blanche say you can use it forever and ever.
Do you expect, do you expect the mayor will say that?
Yeah, he might not be in
I'm
office
just,
till March.
that's what I just said about the confidence in the mayor. Do you
Only good
expect
till
that the
March.
mayor's gonna say something foolish or crazy?
That's a much, that's true.
Okay. Mike, how do you wanna deal with this?
Got me. I do whatever you guys want me to do.
Well, I mean, they need the use if they're gonna go over there. I mean, time is ticking, that's the important thing.
Right.
Was it like 3 weeks to the fair this year?
August 10th. So yeah. Basically.
So, what if you perhaps, just work with you and Jeff and, fire crew, discuss, the repairs, that they're gonna do, and if it's all, in general, like all okay, that functional for their usage now, and then if they're coming up, and then they can present later their plan. They probably need to come up with a plan in writing so that we have it, so we have an agreement for future use. But just for the repairs now, so that we can get started. And then, just with the hope that we'll go along with the agreement, but with the repairs, we would already know if something was, didn't seem like it was gonna be good, or that it's gonna close it off with extra stuff we have to worry about in there. I don't know if we're talking about closed up building, or if it's still gonna be sort of open.
From what you described, it was just gonna repair what was there, make it safe, and usable.
Okay, so like if they have like a locker to store some extra equipment, is that something? It's not really a building that they're gonna build, it's just repairing sort of a small.
I don't even know if they're gonna change anything, or just fix it.
So where's the risk in that?
The pavilion, kind of,
I just want to go ahead and return on the investment.
has like a bar in it.
Well, that was hard in Oxford.
They're not gonna put $5,000 in their sweat and labor into this building with nothing.
What are they looking for? Tell us.
I'm not hiding anything from you. I just told you that the fire chief told this to me 10 minutes before this meeting. I don't have any detail on this. I don't know exactly what they're looking for. They want some degree of authority or control, I don't know what degree, over that building.
Well, he didn't even say control. His message to me said they just want to be able to use it whenever they want to use it.
There you go. That's the control. They want to be able to use it whenever they want to use it, barring, of course.
But if
Something
somebody
else.
else wants to use it, they can also use it, right?
Yeah, if the fire department's not using it, why not?
Once again, I know you want to have all those things. I don't have the answer for that. We can't, because we're going to have the chief here and the fire board here to negotiate those things, which is why I keep trying to get the mayor to be allowed to negotiate those things. And keep not wanting that to be the case. You want to know those things right now. I don't know them right now. That's why I keep wanting the mayor to have the authority to negotiate them.
And the chief's not here because he's on the fair board and he's over there busting tail trying to get Marvin
Which
Park.
is why I've said a bunch of times, do you have confidence that the mayor will negotiate something that is reasonable to this board?
But, and I think we're all trying to give our input to the mayor on what we think is important.
That's fine. That can be done. Yeah. So I move that we authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with the corporation of the fire department for the repair of the building that we're talking
I
about.
don't know what you want to call it, the beer tent pavilion?
Sure.
I don't know.
We'll
Doesn't
find
have a
the
name.
of it. To enter
The other
into
ones are
an
numbered,
agreement
but
with
it's not
the corporation of the fire department for their repair of that building in exchange for whatever control or use of the building that the mayor deems appropriate.
You want to vote on that one? Fran?
Abstain.
On what grounds?
It's too out there.
You can't abstain because it's too out there. You gotta pick a yes or a no. Unless it's a conflict of interest, you can't abstain. You gotta choose yes or no. For what valid reason? Just vote yes or no. If you don't want to do it, vote no. People abstain way too often.
I'm not against it. It's just, there's too much unclear for me to give you a firm yes.
Laura?
We're gonna have, more like awareness or approval, after, like, if you would, make this agreement and then come back and we would, so you're gonna go ahead and do the action or make it and then we'll, review it at the next meeting. But, then it would be, like include some sort of, I would like to see the agreement, terms and a timeline. How long that lasts.
So I'm gonna vote, okay.
Oh, did we go to vote?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I thought we were still in discussion. All right, I'll vote yes.
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 And yes. I don't know if I can vote though, because I'm the one who has to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're the mayor, you don't have to necessarily do what we ask you to
No,
do. Thank you for being well. Can I make one last little thing about that?
Yeah.
The fire department isn't gonna do this without some, I know these guys and I know how they talk and think. They're not gonna do it without some degree of assurance that something is
Yeah,
going
I
to
don't want that. I
happen.
mean, I wouldn't either want to invest money and time into something.
And then we bring it back to the board and then we decide, yeah, we don't want it. So if you want them to fix that thing up, we're gonna have to give them something, and that's gonna be the mayor figure it out.
Are you worried about the DRI?
No, they're just worried about.
They're not worried about it, they're worried about putting the time and money in it, and then they'll say, okay, thanks for fixing it.
Okay, thank you very much. Next. And they don't want much, they just want to be able to use it, sounds like.
I doubt very much that they want to put a lock on it. No one else can touch it for the rest of eternity. I just think they want to be able to use it for activities that we would approve them anyways.
For everything improvement, and now this would be like a thing the housing has to stay.
And nothing's really set with the DRI from our part. There's not many bullets. Something with the bathrooms, security, which we've already kind of done, and drainage.
There's a few things we have
Honestly,
to-
the fair board's over there doing now.
I think as long as whatever eventual agreement says that they have, not exclusive rights to use it, they have the right to use it on, maybe first priority in use. It's that way if there's two folks who want to use it on the same weekend, the fire corporation gets it, as long as maybe they notify us at least 2 weeks ahead of time. So that's the details that we don't
I
have.
expect the
mayor's
mayor
gonna-
and the chief will work that out, and when the mayor has what he thinks is a good idea, he'll come back and tell us or ask us, what do you think, guys, is that workable, is that the deal? I don't expect this is gonna be a problem. But you don't have enough on your plate. So.
No, yeah. A couple more things. I got the plate. So.
Let's do something else.
Like, can I ask you,
Yeah.
the leftover tanks from the last bunch of packs that the fire department purchased, the old tanks are still in the bank, which we put on pallets because they were just in a pile. And is there any way that somebody can get them so they move them somewhere else other than the bank? Because we bump into it and they roll off this thing, you have big tanks, you gotta chase down, put back up on the pallets. Anything that, that's extra that we have, we've been putting downstairs in the basement out of the way. And if he says he hasn't had any bites on getting them sold or whatever. If there's a different place that they could be stored, they're huge. I mean,
Yeah. Get rid of them somehow.
I just don't know. We personally put them on pallets because they were just pile everywhere. And so.
Can you speak to the fire chief? Do you have a relationship with him? Can you talk to him
I
about that?
asked him what the plans are. I don't get any answer, but I mean, it's a pain. I mean, they're not small tanks and they can roll it off of there and they roll on somebody's foot. It's not gonna be a pleasant experience, We tried to organize them up there, but there's gotta be someplace else, maybe perhaps if they can be stored until they sell them or whatever.
Can't they put them outside?
That's what I was thinking.
So
but
empty.
I'm
the fire commissioner, I'd be happy to say something.
That would be, that'd be
Ask him
awesome.
about it. But I'll ask him because he's in charge of the station, and I'll ask him about that.
We're trying to help by
One
putting
of those might be able to, I'll mention it.
Or how do we get rid of them in general?
Well,
I know he's looked at
he's
selling
out
them,
the market, but he's not getting any bite, and I understand that, I know it's hard to get rid of a used tank like that, I mean, obviously it's out of date, out of everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do we wanna just move it downstairs and let it catch dust, or do we wanna try and, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, I offered to do that as a fire commissioner, obviously, we run the department, so if you want me to.
Yeah. Go for it.
That would be nice, I'm not trying to cause any problems, it's just a problem that are rolling off. I got clobbered with one the other day and that was like, crap, so.
They're gonna hang them from-
I don't care what you do. I mean, we
Big
took
old
all
wind
the
chime.
spare tires that
Wind
we
chime,
had,
yeah.
and we took off the thing, we put it downstairs,
And the last piece, so you understand, you know what the fire department does with that, we've done before, it's there when the sun moves that out. I don't wanna say that. Arm there.
Let's do the transfers.
All right, let's do the transfers. There we get the transfers.
Transfer. Most of them are, insurance recovery, gift donation, OPD, and the other two are state aid to the new municipal building, there's this money we pay the contractors that comes in ACH, better that.
We do them all at once, or we do one.
Yeah, do them all.
With the transfers as.
As presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion on them? Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and yes. Let's do the minutes.
For the minutes,
We got 3 sets of minutes.
Yeah, so for, 6/21.
Second.
Okay, we're on them, Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and yes.
Correct.
For 6/28.
Mhm.
Motion to approve this.
Second.
Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and yes.
And then for, July 6th, in the end, it says, trustee Slater's report, he mentioned the pool repair, and then underneath it, it says he went to the, pilot meeting for the, Liberty Temple project, and if you could just push that down to trustee Cohen with the potential pilot thing.
Can you tell us apart?
Yeah, no.
And that's the only thing that
I didn't even see
is
that.
needed.
No, Ron.
I'll second that.
Any other comments? Fran,
We're voting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and yes. All right, you got those marked up?
Page,
Next thing is the treasurer's report. I hope everybody got it. I don't know, I sent it like right before the meeting. I hope Kim sent it to you last week.
I made everybody a copy this year.
Okay. I did my thing. Everything's looking good. I know we keep track of the EMS. The EMS are in the positive about $60,000. And they're more or less right on track for the 325 or whatever we budgeted. They're just under and spending. That's how they have made money, basically.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being very frugal of the money that they spend. And that's-
Other than that, everybody else is doing pretty well.
That's good to me. I'll motion to.
Yes.
And we're 11 months in, so it's a good, it's good to be in that situation. Fran?
So, let me just question, so, starting August 1st, will MedX send all payments into the checking account for EMS?
Yes.
Well, they sent it to us.
I thought it was supposed to directly into the checking.
It will,
It will.
because they ACH it, they deposit it through the bank. I just had to go down to the office Friday and call Medicare and leave a bunch of account numbers to switch all that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought that I'd be a good checking account. Keep track of what.
Yeah.
Fiscal year date starts August 1st.
Okay.
That's when everything goes into effect.
So we just called them this week to switch it all because it's the end of July. So they're,
So then, also August 1st, anything that's left
Oh.
over will go into the
their-
reserve account?
they'll go into their checking
It'll
account
go into their,
or their savings.
yeah, it'll be going to their operating.
All right, you got it,
We put it, I mean, we can put it in the reserve account, but then it makes it very hard to use.
Yeah, they need money to pay their bills.
right, but
Yeah.
we'll divide, set aside,
Yeah.
at that time, we'll just decide a certain percent will go into the reserve every month.
Well, we usually do it once a year. But
Well,
that's true. Yeah.
I was gonna help answer your thing. That money will go into we'll call it not our general fund, into the EMS's general line or
that's what I'm
whatever.
saying, they've got a checking account and a reserve.
Yeah, that money will go into the checking account. It will be in there because we decided a while back that we weren't sure how this was gonna go, and this went really well this year, but we still wanted to give it this a little longer. So we're not going to throw it into their reserve for them at this moment. we'll see how the next year starts and goes and everything. And at any time when we finally decide, you can put any amount of it we want in the reserve. So it won't be in that reserve, but it'll be in another line item, which is technically a reserve. We can't do that forever and ever and over and over. But we said we were gonna do that for a little while, and make sure that we had a fee. So that money will, that's what we said we were gonna do.
You can't keep a ton of money in the checking account. School district gets in trouble for that, having
Yeah.
millions of dollars in there
No, we're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do it for year after year. and put
But you
that
need
50
some
every year, but
to keep the bills flowing. Because right now we supplement it from the general fund. There's $3 million in the general fund. So when a bill comes in, we just pay it, and then when the billing money comes in, it all evens out.
But the worry was somehow we were gonna, somehow we're gonna take that money and spend it somewhere else. Well, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be in the account for your EMS. So it's a reserve without being in that technical reserve. And we'll get in there when and how and whatever much it does. But it's still all there.
But, okay, I just wanna make sure that the money that comes from FedEx goes directly into checking account that belongs to EMS, and then bills for EMS are paid out of that account.
Right.
Okay.
So you need some slush
Not
money
that
in
it
there.
goes to the general fund and then
It
goes
doesn't,
into-
never going to general fund again.
Okay.
Never going to,
Can't legally avoid it.
they're on their own.
Good.
No, now
They've got their own checks, they've got everything.
that we have it set up like that, we can't put it.
They're like their own, they're like the sewer fund. Sewer fund is separate over here, they got their own little accounts. That's what they're gonna do.
With of course the caveat, you can't spend
Yeah.
the next number of dollars. Can't spend it, they
Right.
can't spend so much at a time.
Yeah, no, we still
I mean,
fall under the same rules.
Same rules.
Yeah.
I can't spend more than $5,000 without getting approval. Okay.
So any other questions on the treasurer's report? Do we have a motion in a second?
I think we did.
All right, so let's vote on that. Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And yes. Rusty, can we do that thing about the, Nate brought up an idea of maybe speeding up our meetings.
So,
Talk less.
well, that's step number one, get rid of the attorney.
No.
But, so speaking of talking, so, you could move some of these items that don't really require discussion to a consent agenda. So the minutes, for example, you could have a consent agenda when you put the agenda together, just consent agenda, bullets in that as to all the things that just simply need to be acknowledged. It requires a motion in a second, but they're all approved in one fell swoop. If any trustee wants to specifically pull out one of the items from there to discuss, then you can do that. Maybe somebody noticed there's a change to the minutes that's needed. Somebody would move to approve the consent agenda. There'd be a second discussion. Oh, I'd like this item pulled out for this reason. And everyone would agree, okay, that's fine. So then they'd amend the motion to consent agenda except for that. And then we keep discussion on just those things that really need specific discussion instead of potentially bringing up everything at the same time. So,
One thing with consent agenda is that everybody has to pass it, or everybody has to say yes. No votes no.
well, yeah,
You say it has to be unanimous?
I think
Yeah. Approval for-
I'd have to look at your Roberts. I'd have to look at the rules of order to see exactly what you folks have for that.
Might be covered by, say, I pulled out minutes for
Yeah,
619 because of X, Y, and Z, and then
Yeah, if somebody won't agree to a consent agenda because of a particular item, then we would pull that item out, and then we'd get the unanimity piece of it. But I haven't had to look at that question specifically.
Have to like, that not everybody's gonna agree.
Yeah,
So that would be fine.
Yeah.
The chair can certainly find that out really quickly.
Yeah, there's an
Does
easy.
anybody have anything that they want to object to? You can do that.
Yeah.
yeah, but like things like the transfers and minutes.
is this a new thing?
No,
Why the heck didn't you streamline this 5 years ago?
Well, we've tried sometimes. I don't remember. We might have tried 5 years ago. I wasn't the primary attorney for doing it.
Nate's trying after being home for 900 years. He doesn't want to be here.
I know, he doesn't want to be here all night.
Keep me up there, so that's,
Don't get me started on the winter months. Maybe we can just video from those meetings.
Wait to
Yeah,
see
right.
I can get you for that.
But I mean, it's not guaranteed to make your meetings faster, but it might help streamline some of this and focus a lot more of the discussion on some of those things. Like also like the department head reports. If they're preparing written reports, you don't necessarily need the department heads to tell you everything that's in the report when they've written it down.
Right.
You know, it's just if there's a particular thing a department head wants to highlight, they can highlight it in the report really well. You know, or something really needs to be discussed, then that will come out during the meeting anyway. Similarly, trustee reports. Trustees feel like putting things in writing. You could have trustee reports that simply get accepted and agreed to, you know, by everybody, you know, just informational purposes.
Our next thing is trustee reports. Fran? Yeah.
Okay, well, for the cemetery committee, I gave everybody a couple of handouts there. One thing we were talking about is, up at the summit, up near Savannah, people are all kinds of crazy. And later on this fall, we hope to get the paving done of the cemetery. And what we're proposing is, once you get around the curve up there, there's, I mean, right now there's people driving, there's like 3 lanes there, where people are driving. Part of it, they're parking on graves. So, yeah, they are. So, what we're saying is we'll keep that paved section that goes around, and those other 2 dirt areas, people can't drive there. We'll make a particular parking area, like right at the end of the curve. Yeah,
What are those,
that's,
they bench?
They big rocks.
yeah, that's what we're saying, put rocks there, put rocks there. And like, it's actually like maybe 4 or 5 parking spaces right there where that orange is. And then come around the side also and make another 4 or 5 parking spaces. And, you know, that can be done easily when we pay.
They never repaved the whole cemetery?
Most of it, we're,
Okay, under two.
right now, there's several areas that actually, we've had a number of people complaining right now, coming downhill from Susanna. There are breakers that are getting dangerous. I mean, they're like 6, 8 inches deep. And that's only a one-way area to start with.
Started parking at the bottom, now I'm just walking. It's so
Yeah.
much easier.
So I,
Not my
Exercise.
legs, but it's much
Exercise.
easier.
unfortunately, the part, Deb is not here, so I can't really. But, I want that in the report. People have complained about those, potholes coming down the hill. They're very bad. They should be built in now before we do all the rest of it. Okay. So we don't need any approval on that part. It's just, that's our, you know, heads up on our idea, what we're talking about. The other sheet you have here is about the tree removal service. And as Rusty pointed out, people don't know how to spell very well. But we need to stay. So we talked about for last meeting about $12,000. Okay, so this is the estimate that you got now. We can change it around, whatever. So right now, take down 15 trees, they're saying 15,500, and they take everything out. They chip all the branches, they take all the trees out of there, they don't leave any mess up there. And then they're to do all of the trees this year that we marked would be 34,000. So I don't know if there's any money stuck aside in different accounts left over from this budget year that we could move into doing that.
you remember what, I have it written down, but I have to find it, what we had approved, how many trees and how much money before, wasn't it 11 or 12,000 dollars?
Yeah, last fall, we talked about 11,000.
We approved that.
Different.
To do different, first, different companies.
Yeah.
We approved 11,000 for, and we thought it was gonna be 1,050 or something. So this is somewhat in line with that, although we haven't approved that amount of money, but somewhat in line with that. I'm saying small amount, somewhat in line with what we talked about.
I think I could get the, probably the rest of the money, but I would take some of the interest from the perpetual care. I don't remember, that's probably about every year we could take from that. I think I can get 11, 12,000 out of that. No problem. Plus 11 you already got, so you're up to 23 and we probably cover the rest. What we got.
Well,
I think we can do it. Yeah, we should do that. We should do that. We should also fill potholes besides that in the village. I got complaints in my office. There's holes. People are. Something's got to be done between that and sidewalks. We are in bad shape.
Sidewalks, downtown.
No, on the streets. Yeah. Go down Ross Street. Ross Street.
Well, that's.
Potholes on John
Street. Talking about is what is our priorities for money, are our priorities a certain number of trees in the cemetery, are they sidewalks, are they potholes? I'm just asking what the priorities are. Well, we've got $20,000 extra.
One of our priorities is that we're on notice about these projects and we're not taking care of it. We're on notice, people fall down,
I understand, but what I'm talking about you're talking about. I'm talking about is our priority to take out 32 trees instead of 15, an extra 20,000 there, or is it to put it on potholes and sidewalks downtown if we have a certain amount? That's what I'm saying.
We have money set aside for sidewalks, it's just not getting done.
Didn't we have an issue finding people to do that?
We have an issue with like somebody like asking people. We're not getting nobody's. We're not even put bids on.
I thought the last thing I heard that Jeff said there was nobody interested because of the sporadic nature of the sidewalks, like 5 here, 3 there.
They want to do like all the
Right,
straight.
they want to do it.
I called a few places, they said, you're happy to bid. Not a problem.
I know when I go walking, there's X's all over the place, there's paint on the lips.
Rusty?
I'd like to finish my report on this before we get off topic. Yeah, well, I just know, I want you to.
I understand what everybody's saying.
I'm just saying, the issues I'm talking about have been there for a long time and they don't seem to be getting any action, period. And they're major, as far as I know. I've had people fall down, smash their face, break their arms, yada yada. Have you fixed that problem? No.
And well, we got the money set aside.
Well, the next person who falls down will own the village, fine. But then if nobody wants to fix anything, that's fine. I'm just saying, I've had another recurring fall on different places. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So question on transport. It's been suggested by some folks that we have parking across from the curb there on the other side of the road, rather than in the road. Would require taking out a bunch of little trees,
Yeah.
et cetera, but
Yeah,
there's
you'd
been
have to
suggestion
build
that that
a
would be,
ditch over there.
that would be the place to park.
Yeah. So that we'd have to, you got a drainage.
I'm gonna go up to the cemetery.
Yeah,
I wanna visualize all this, so I'm gonna go up for the next couple of days.
Yeah, well,
So I have
right in the middle where there's like 3 big trees. People drive way to the side. And, you know, they're just all over the place, parking all over. All right, so, what are we gonna do with the tree?
Essentially, with that money, should we just repair the road?
I think we already have,
We have money.
76,000 set aside for the black. We can't do the black top until we get the trees down. You got a guy going up there with heavy equipment. breaking up, black.
Yeah.
As long as there's gonna be tree issues up there for the rest of existence, that's just the nature of trees.
Well, yeah, we need to budget a certain amount every year
Well,
to take down X
Well,
number
I'm
of
just
trees.
talking about this good,
Right
always
now,
being a
there's
need
like
for
30
trucks to
dead
drive
trees.
on that.
Yeah.
10 years from now, you're gonna have to cut down another 15 trees.
Right. Okay,
I mean, we agreed to the original 15 or 12-ish. I mean, I think we need to take care of that. And we also obviously need to put money into the sidewalks and things that are actually potential lawsuits, I guess.
you said you already have money set aside.
That's on the money issue, it's getting it done.
Got the money. Contract.
Well, we could use more money for it, for film potholes.
We don't have enough money for sidewalks. I mean, I understand what you're saying about getting it done, but I remember that Jeff had 70 or 90 grand to look at our sidewalks. I'm just saying, it's still money.
I'm just saying, when you have somebody to call, we're on notice, it has to be fixed, and we are not fixing it, period. So, if you guys are happy with it, that's fine.
It's better hooking up a contract to do it.
So I think what I'm saying, and what Ron might be saying is, we might be more comfortable doing 15 trees this year like we were gonna do, and using that extra $20,000 that you're gonna find wherever, or however, and using it for the thing you're talking about is you putting it on top of that 70 grand or whatever to get these poles and sidewalks.
But what I'm saying with Fran, I can take money out of the perpetual care fund for her trees.
To get to the rest of the trees.
Yeah, I can help her with the trees, it's not to do with the site. Right, it's a separate.
Okay.
Can you get there,
Okay, yeah, no,
can you get to the whole 34
I
there?
heard you say 10.
But I think
We got 382,000 in the perpetual care. I'll call them up and say, hey, give me this year's interest, give me a check. And we can use that for trees. It'll be maybe 10,000, 11,000.
Well, I think what Rusty and Ron are saying though is that part of the issue is the contractors don't want to do little pieces here and there. Some of that is just a scope issue, which is cost. If you, instead of doing a little piece here and there, did a slightly bigger project, maybe that might attract somebody, which means you're throwing the dollars at it. Maybe doing a little more sidewalk than strictly necessary to fix just that little piece, but maybe a bigger, nicer sidewalk.
We have actually done sidewalks around town and they look pretty good, whoever's done. They've done some nice sidewalks and there's just not enough of them getting done.
Where's the street service?
They're from, Pennsylvania. I gave the business card I had to Jeff.
Okay.
They have their insurance, they've submitted to the
No,
DPW office.
okay. They're not like listed anywhere, like tires, you know, like the phone number, reverse search.
Well, most of the, a lot of the free companies are not listed in the yellow pages. People don't buy it.
Yeah,
Well,
So we've
yeah.
got referrals from a number of different places.
So let's wrap this up. The decision at the moment is how many trees to take care of. Soon, now or soon. So let's just, is that it? Is that the decision we're gonna make? Is it gonna be the 15 grand for 15, or is it gonna be the 34 grand for 32? What do we want to do now?
Or you can spread it out over 2 years, this year and next year.
Yeah, because 15.
Well, that's what I thought about.
Well,
Because technically we'll have another
well,
11,000 next year.
the, yeah, the
Why don't you do
reserve
that?
fund is earning about $1,000 a month.
That's so you have a, say 12,000 this year and you have 12,000 next year. And we've already, you don't really get it in August, we take it out in July. You have to build that. Technically, we can fund it, we can do that.
All right, so.
So it's up to you guys to decide how much you're gonna spend.
I'm gonna recommend that we do what we had originally planned, that we do, and we can change it to 15.5 from the 11 or whatever we said to spend. Take out 15 trees, and if we're gonna contract with Shattuck, who we don't know, whatever, we're gonna see how they do and see if we love them and use that much money, and then we can,
Do the next one.
we can do the next batch, you know. That's what I'm gonna recommend, but I don't know. Fran, chime in there.
Okay, well, last meeting we talked about, $12,000. So if, we get another 12 from the interest, that would be 24,000. So. You know, that would be about 10 trees we would do this year, save for next year.
That's another alternative. I recommend the 15, for some reason it was broken down like that. I just recommend the 15 grand for 15 trees, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be 24 grand for whatever trees or whatever.
And I don't really like this term, third down. I don't want to pay somebody until they do something.
Oh, yeah, third down,
Yeah.
third and a half. and a
She's trying to
third.
find something. She's trying to look for some kind of thing about this company.
Even in the email that we see on the back, he didn't have the insurance yet.
Yeah, he brought it into the DPW today.
So I guess maybe we shouldn't,
Covered.
maybe we should,
In the cemetery, the cost of the, like when equipment fails, remember when the tree service truck brake broke and it crashed into all the stuff up there in the cemetery? Where's this guy's insurance? Coverage.
He's already put it, he brought it in today to the DPW.
maybe we should ease into it instead of just.
That's what that was my recommendation, is that we did a partial thing if we don't know these folks and we're not, I don't know, it's just a recommendation, doesn't have to be. But even there, Rodney is not comfortable with third down.
I'm not gonna give him a third before he starts.
What increments?
He wants a third before he starts.
I know, what
Third-
increments?
Depends on, if it takes just how long it takes down that many trees.
So generally speaking, the comptroller recommends not putting down any money before you receive the service. You know, they provide the service, submit the invoice, then we pay it after they've
I mean,
actually done the service.
I'll pay him right off the bat. I won't wait for a meeting if it's been approved. I will pay, especially a small contractor, as soon as I get it done. But I want it to be done before I pay him. I don't want to give an advance.
So that's a typical thing when somebody's
Working on it.
a company worried about something. They're working with a municipality, the municipality's not gonna job them.
Well, halfway through, can you put in a bill? What's been done?
That's a typical contractor thing.
Yeah.
I think of during a construction
Yeah,
project, they
I-
get
I
progress
would-
payments.
I wouldn't mind that. If they're halfway done, you say they're halfway done, give them half the money, that'd be fine. But they gotta, as long as we're done. I don't wanna give it up front, because, like I say, Laura can't find them, but then if she can't track them, who can find them?
Couldn't get
we
insurance
pay them
till
a
the last
third.
second and who
Yeah.
knows?
It just, yeah, you can't reverse it.
Can't find the
Search the
person.
phone number.
So,
All right,
that's the recommendation still for me that what, do we wanna use these guys?
We had a company before that.
find somebody else. We, since last September,
Sorry?
find somebody.
Because the last guy backed out.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
just
go
saying.
back out. He contacting all these tree services. And we just finally found somebody. A month ago.
You do understand our concern though, like, you can't even see that they exist. Other
Well,
than,
if they've already given a certificate of insurance to DPW.
I don't know if you know how con people work. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm being realistic. A lot of people take
Well-
advantage of entities.
Well,
Well, maybe somebody else on the board needs to research it. John Redcliffe has been talking with different people and we've met with these guys, been up there with them in the cemetery.
We're not trying to stop you from doing it, we're trying to help you not lose money if they are potentially confidence.
Well, if after a week or so, they seem to be doing a shitty job, we certainly tell them it's over.
Well, if they won't agree to do any work before they get any money, then I don't see how they can do it. from a village.
A lot of, I understand.
Yeah.
Saying they don't, the village doesn't put money up.
Sure.
A lot of small businesses do ask for money from projects. I know when I had my own business, I was making custom window treatments. I wanted some money up front, because I had to go buy a computer.
Right, but that is working with a municipality, there's different guidelines that we have to make.
Yeah.
I get it, we have deposits on stuff at our shop, I understand. To cover your initial cost up front, I get that aspect. But you can find my company online. There's another conundrum.
Your name, company, the phone number,
If I-
none of that. None of that. It's a track.
Well, unfortunately, I gave their business card to get, so if I still had it, I'd give it to you.
When did he want to sell?
I don't know, in a couple weeks. I mean, once I get approved, you know. They've been doing some, you know, smaller jobs where we're taking out 10 trees at a time.
Hey, tell him about the things. Tell him about the gate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well, just one.
well,
Let's, yeah, let's.
so what are we gonna do with this? I don't want to just drop it.
No, I don't. Somebody run into the gate at the cemetery.
Yeah, somebody,
The big stone pillars?
yeah, those big brick pillars, there's cast iron gates.
Yeah.
That are open to the inside. John just saw it this afternoon, and I went up to look at it. Some of these, I'm assuming it's a big pickup truck, because I can't imagine a little car even getting out of it. They pulled over into the grassy area over to the side and tried to pull themselves back so that they were back on the blacktop. They hit the corner of the brick there, totally ripped off that cast iron fence, bent in half, broke it. Somebody did a job on that vehicle.
Yeah.
And I.
Yeah, you showed me pictures
I
of
don't, John called went to OPE this afternoon, but I think, we need to be talking to our insurance company about. Is that, you know, they're not gonna find us.
Camera. We need a field camera.
Alright, so,
Okay.
We
There
need
used to
get
be
somebody
some.
up there to figure out what that's gonna cost.
Yeah, well,
Insurance wise.
we will contact insurance.
Assume that would fall under HPC approval as well.
Village department.
I understand that, but there are certain buildings that still fall under the historic, so I just didn't know what our.
Oh, yeah, that's historic.
It's on the historic district, or the historic register. We can always ask for their recommendations for style.
I just want to make sure we go through the right steps. So we didn't.
Yeah, well, I'm
Before
saying
we-
we need to
before we
have
buy
insurance
something.
check that out.
This is just repair. Repair is repair.
So what are we doing with the trees?
Yeah, go back to the trees, I just started throwing.
let's start from like.
Just throw the gate in there. You guys know about the gate, it's not good.
No, I saw a picture, it's pretty bent up.
It's ripped off.
It is.
So what would be the procedure, if we had decided that we were going to contract with Shattuck, what would be the procedure, would we get a contract with them?
Through the DPW.
How would we go about this?
And we don't like the third down,
Well,
third
yeah,
half.
yeah, we don't necessarily have to do that, but would we have to get a hold of them and have a contract with them? Excellent.
It doesn't need to be overly complicated. I mean, I think if they submitted a purchase order, you know, something like that, or we submitted to them, you know, here's the terms on which we're doing this. Here's our order to you. We submit to them a purchase order. As long as we have the certificate of insurance, that'd be fine. It's just that, I mean, if you wanted to authorize something tonight, but it's neither of these two things, if it's more money for more trees but not the full amount, then there needs to be, you know, authorized dollars for trees, 24 trees, you know, or $24,000 of tree removal, whatever that buys us. You know, and no money down, we'll agree to pay half. I mean, that's just the type of stuff that like ideally would be already agreed on with the vendor, you know, it's just not.
Yeah, no, the, Jeff would have to have the final approval. Now, if that's a statement of insurance, they'll come in and Jeff might even say, let's go up there, I wanna see how much equipment you have, how many bag equipment.
So he's not been involved in this so far.
Yes and no. He told the cemetery committee to go ahead and get the estimates.
Okay.
And last, Monday, we came in and talked to Jeff, gave the guy's business card. Jeff said, get the, statement of insurance and, you know, have.
Not doing that stuff. So, once again, I'm going to recommend that we have the guy come in and Jeff have the authority to, on his, whatever he decides, to contract with Shattuck for 15 trees for $15,500. Nothing down. We want to put potentially half money halfway through.
50% progress payment,
50% payment, 50% through, and
7.5 trees.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. Something like that.
And, you know, if you satisfactory work, then go ahead and extend the contract for the other 12,000.
Yeah, let's wait there, let's wait on
See
it.
how they do, right?
Yeah, yeah, they do.
We're gonna wait and see how they do it.
Okay.
We're gonna see if we have more confidence that they exist and this and that. That's what I recommend we do. Jeff will meet, whatever Jeff does, how.
Lawyer's gonna track them down.
That,
Lawyer's gonna track them down.
does that need to be in the form of a motion? Or is that just?
It sounds like a motion to me.
Is that a motion?
Second.
Right, right.
Do you have any put the terms down in there, no money,
No money
no
down.
money down?
50%
down, half,
progress
half,
payment.
half.
Rest on completion.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want the guy coming to talk to Jeff.
Any more discussion on that? Fran,
Yes,
Laura,
no,
Rusty,
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Anything else, Fran?
all done.
Laura?
All right, so for my trustee report, there's two public hearings coming up. Tuesday, July 27th at 7 p.m. Here, 20 Elm Street, it's the planning board for the Tuesday, July 27th, 7 p.m. The planning board, public hearing for a project, DRI connected project on Central Ave. And then there's a zoning for the public hearing Wednesday, July 28th, 6 p.m. here at 20 Elm Street. And that's for an area variance for parking. The application is the application is available here for public review, and it's for a project on Central Ave.
Are they the same projects?
Yeah.
Both home central.
Yeah, except for there is a little bit of a difference in the address.
Oh,
And I don't know if
they,
somebody filled out the.
they have, I think, when I looked at it, aren't they, for the site plan, getting like a new, a showroom, right?
Yeah.
Is the parking like located somewhere else?
So the.
Because they've got like, they're gonna end up having a lot of that street, or that section.
It's corner, it's the corner, it's DMV, and they're gonna put a showroom in there. That was the ERI.
Kitchen and bath showroom.
With more information available here.
All our questions are
Okay,
being
so
And
then-
you'll be able to.
It's like north of Fox.
It's,
Yeah.
Oxford Central. on the
Yeah.
corner northwest.
They have 2 addresses on the application. 2 different addresses for the different floors of site, between the 2 boards, so it's just a little bit of a, maybe a clerical error. That's why I can't tell you what address it is. But one of them's right, one of them's not. Huh?
That's the property.
No, this is Central Ave.
They do own that, they do own that big storage thing.
Right.
But
I was
all,
wondering
all
if that's
property
the-
addresses are Central Ave.
Okay.
151 or 133. So in the same document, they're listing 2 different addresses. So I just don't know which one it is.
Or expands 2 different
I'm
numbers.
sorry.
What is it?
Tuesday the 27th, 7 p.m.
Okay.
That's the planning board. And then the zoning board appeals Wednesday, July 28th, 6 p.m.
Maybe you're like,
No, this is a Home Central, as part of their DRI project, has the place to see the auto building. Very much connected right to their property. And they're going to be doing that, but what they're doing right now is there's a showroom, their office is upstairs. They don't anticipate having need for the parking right there for that, but they have their overflow in their own lot. And so that's part of what they're presenting in their application, asking for a smaller amount of parking spots that fit in that space that is available. It's pretty standard. They've already gone through all the county procedures, and you have the recommendation for the project for all of that, and it's just sort of the final ask for variance for the number of parking spaces, but it's not a big one. So I don't anticipate anybody having a problem with this. But there is a vacancy on one of the boards, and somebody showed interest.
Planning board.
Yeah. Let me pull that up.
Should be.
There's 5 for each, but there's a vacancy. There's only 4 people on each committee, so there's vacancies on both.
And I just talked to Jeff Van Wagen about this the other day. He's on the planning board.
He's the chair of the zoning board.
He's zoning board.
He's telling me Jeff is the chair.
I knew it was one or the other. He said that his board, this is one somewhere.
You said somebody is interested in it?
Yeah,
On the planning board?
so Julie Nucci has expressed interest, and she's email to both the mayor and I expressed in that.
Somebody who was so interested in planning board. I was hoping somebody would put their hat in that.
So I did tell her that the way that can happen is the mayor can appoint her, and then we can approve it at our meeting today, because she's already submitted this letter. And I did ask if she would be willing to do the all the paperwork that step in, a committee member can also be the committee secretary. So I didn't hear back about that. I wasn't trying to compensate you, but it is $50 per meeting for each receipt.
We've never approved necessarily paying for somebody to do all these other things. We said we can't.
Well, there's a large number of paperwork items, and Jeff Van Wagner at our last meeting said that he's not able to do that paperwork.
Right. Last time it was in hiatus, I mean, whether you could
And I can't.
do it or not.
I can't.
Right. So we still have to approve payment to somebody if we choose to go that route.
Right.
I guess so, yeah.
Because we pay other.
It is like a
people, right?
service, and people, you just submit the voucher that you did it.
Right.
And then it's like a small amount that the, clerk's office probably just covers.
Really,
Out of the session of the board. Or, no, because it's part of the DPW, it would be out of the DPW.
regardless, somebody else is doing that at this point. In
It's
different,
not getting done.
no, but in different boards, there's somebody being paid somewhere for that same job. I just can't remember.
Well, just, you know, HPC is getting.
Okay, that's where I was.
Planning and zoning are not.
Yeah, I understand that. I knew somewhere, somebody's getting paid for doing that service in a different arena.
Right, or you
Yeah,
can
so it is.
$50 a meeting, yeah.
So we can easily do it.
There's a lot of people, like, legal, you know,
What can I do?
all the,
I can barely read my own writing.
And plenty of communities, manage to get it done using
Yeah.
a member of the board themselves. So, I mean, people, it's not, there's things that need to be done, but it's not rocket science.
And each board has a different amount of difficulty. Not all created equal.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking with the planning board, I'm foreseeing potential issues. We need to cross our T's and dot our I's. It's something that may be coming through the pipeline.
Yeah, that's not a big one, right?
So I'd like to appoint Julie to the planning board. So you guys have to approve, so. We can vote on it.
Workroom.
Planning is on.
the planning.
Planning. We need a person on
What's
each.
the term for the unexpired portion of whatever term it's in?
Okay. So it's a 5-year term, I believe. Let me go back and
Which you could get somebody else's was left after 3 years or 5-year term, however all that was.
find that. Yes, it's a 5-year term. And we don't list their dates, but we have determined them before. It's when we do the annual meeting, we have the dates for service listed in there. So they're just staggered, so not everybody should place at the same time.
Do you know if someone resigned from that or?
They've been on board for a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had 5 people on
A
there.
couple of years ago, somebody,
So it should be 5-year terms. There's 5 members. One person should be up every single year. So it's, if we know who the 3 or 4 people are when they first got on, Rod or Cindy or Kim can backtrack to their appointments and try to figure that out.
currently, I don't think there's even there's not a person marked as the chair of the planning board.
That might be you, Christine, that might be.
Sounds pretty weird. Yeah.
I think she's the chair.
So it typically the village mayor, I think, who chooses the chairperson, and then in the absence of an appointment as the chairperson, the members of the board themselves can choose amongst themselves who to be the chair. And I think that's often how the village of Owego has handled it, just letting the boards pick their own chair.
Yeah, and let them do their own thing. As long as there's no issue with them doing their own thing. Alright, so. We'll plug
You're
her
gonna
in.
research what
Yeah,
the
Meg has all
terms
that
are
information.
and how this might fit into a 5, which there may not be a 5-year stay.
Right.
But we're gonna research that and barring problems in the research, can we appoint it to a 5-year term?
Yeah, Meg has all that information as far as the terms. And,
So appointment to the longest term
available.
She has that's available.
With complications of research in 5 years.
She's not filling out some of these terms, she's just pointing out.
Well, no, there's a,
Somebody's term
every
is there.
seat has a term. There's current
Oh,
vacancy.
So somebody's was appointed 4 years ago, and somebody was appointed 3 years ago, or however that was.
Right, so the empty chair has an expiration date tied to it. It's either this year, and that's the seat that's getting filled at the next meeting, or the reorg meeting, or it's 3, 4, 2, whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
just about 2 years ago, we set up.
Could she potentially fill that seat as mayor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's,
We're splitting here.
yeah, it's regardless, there's an empty seat, she can be appointed to fill it, whatever the length of the unexpired term is, Rod's office to figure that out.
They can't figure it out in 5 years. But sometimes, you know, that stuff.
Yeah, if we can't figure it out, then we're just gonna dictate,
Start.
start on that.
Well, until they quit, right? Usually the last 5
Mayor
years.
makes that motion, I second it, if you second.
Laura,
We'll vote on that. Fran,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Laura made the motion,
Yes.
Rusty seconded, the mayor.
Mayor, and yes. So let her know she's in. And get a hold of, she'll have to go down to the clerk's office and fill in the book and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It's one
Right.
it's great, yeah.
So, yeah.
before the next meeting.
Before the meeting, which is on the next Tuesday.
Yeah, she's a.
Right. Just so we tell her to do it.
There is an OHPC meeting Thursday, August 5th, 7 PM. That's here. They're doing great, working through everybody's applications, talking ahead of the projects. See all the communications, and they're letting people know about tax credits and ways to help for their projects. And so I'm very pleased with everything that's coming out of the HPC and how they're communicating with people. So that's it for me.
Rusty, we got Ron?
Just a question about mowing the abandoned house on Spencer and Main, the big yellow one. It's extremely overgrown again. How do we remedy this? The yellow one across from the back of the street.
So somebody owns it? So we gotta go through code enforcement to get to the bank.
Well, we can mow it and we just charge them.
Yeah.
We should be.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the best remedy, but it's getting quite overgrown.
Usually when the bank's on, that's what we have to do. We have to threaten to mow them. Then they come mow
Oh,
'em.
I wouldn't threaten them, I just mow, we'll charge them.
There's practically trees growing out of the garage. And gutters.
They know what the rules are.
We have that problem on Front and East Front too.
It won't go on taxes until next year.
What's the going rate for DPW mowing somebody's property?
A lot. Enough that they don't wanna do it again.
Be $200 probably.
Just want to throw it out there because it's come to play an eyesore and it's preaching into the sidewalk and don't anybody to trip on the sidewalk in a bump.
Also, there's a property on Fox Street, like right before the storage shed, it's the same way. It's abandoned
Oh,
house.
yeah, the window falls back down.
Yeah. They got like,
Behind,
I mean, the grass is like taller than me there. Yeah, like just past the rainbow on the right,
like a little Victorian
it's like a
style.
greenhouse.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's it. That land bank?
I don't think so.
It's not, it probably should be. very
Well, it
safe.
should be, but it isn't, I don't think.
I don't see it being salvageable. But anyway, that's all I've got.
Mayor, I found two. Mayor, what's your? I found two memos here with my stuff that I did not see before. One here, I just says, this law requires that one. Signed by you.
Oh, that's just saying.
That's just, that's my reminder, in the
Expenses.
year, don't spend all your money.
Okay.
And the end of the year, just don't pad your.
The other was a letter from, Patty O'Connell about, animals and smell when we're on Southside Drive. Somebody see that?
You're the animal guy.
She lives at 132, I believe, 132 Southside Drive, and she says, message, we have a home in the village that's outside that has chickens, roosters, dogs, geese, and whatever else. Our complaint is the stench that's coming across the road is down to neighbors' homes. About this, Patty O'Connell, 132 Southside Drive. I think the house next to the Owego Gardens to the left. If you're looking at Owego Gardens. I don't know what she's talking about. On the other side, there's a right now we're talking about that there's a ranch house on that.
Yeah, there's something across the way.
Only one of them, I think. Did we, so there's a complaint, did we,
We shifted it, we sent it to Coda.
okay, so the code guys checked, all right,
Sent it to Coda.
okay. And of course,
That goes to our long-term chicken question.
yeah, which I'm supposed to be working on about the animal code, but at the moment, you can't have animals running at large, fowl or otherwise.
Right.
That's a lot. So, code guys got it, okay, that's.
That includes the next. I have a question about. Does that include dogs too? Like if you had an invisible fence?
If you had an invisible fence, it wouldn't be at large. And they were confined to your property and they stayed in it, and if they get outside of that invisible fence, they're at large.
Probably not for
This
your
is
dog.
my
you know?
personal,
That's still,
I don't trust my 4-foot fence. It's not-
but that's still not the definition of at large. If you had a great big dog and he just never left your property, he doesn't have to be in it.
Okay,
All right. Next thing is round. Next thing is communications. I don't have much. Besides, this weekend is the football fundraiser over in Marvin Park, chicken dinners or whatever that we approved a while ago.
Nice thing about getting home, everything's new.
Is it golf coming to that cornhole golf?
It's been,
It's been the last couple weekends. This weekend might be nice.
Gonna be there this coming Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday. Saturday, after Jack. Over from here to skate park.
Big Olympic tournament.
Yep.
Is happening again from the, Olympic tournament.
Yeah, so they have the local tournament, like when the firemen's convention went on. The next thing coming up is the state tournament, so it'll bring in some people from out of town.
Is that active fair?
What's that?
Is that active fair?
I don't know.
Weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, good, yeah. So it should be a lot of people coming into town for that.
Yeah.
All of them, like OLL.
We go Little League. Yeah, they bring in some people.
Yeah, they get.
Kiwanis are having a golf tournament the 28th. I heard through the grapevine they may be honoring the OPD for community service. So. Be nice of them. Mayor's report, I don't have much of a report.
I did have one thing for the board. So the property swap with Mr. Lounsbury for the Steamer House property. So the real estate attorneys have been working on that, and they there's a when you get a warranty deed from somebody, there's typically a 40-year look-back period for a title search to go back to a warranty deed. And long story short, it's going to cost Mr. Lounsbury a couple $1,000 extra to go back to the 1800s because of his current chain of title. he's owned it for 39 years. And then the next deed after that, you have to go to the next deed after that to have a typical title search. It's like in the 1800s. Whoever owned it before him owned it for a really long time. So they're asking if the village is okay with accepting a title search only back to Mr. Lounsbury owning it 39 years. If we waited literally like 6 more months at this point, it wouldn't be any question. It wouldn't even be an issue. It would just be the normal course because it's just the timing of it. So if the village is willing to waive the typical search requirement, then great. Then this thing will be wrapped up pretty shortly after that.
Cost us anything.
Won't cost you anything. It's a title issue in the sense that to normally gain the assurance that he owns the property without any issue, you wouldn't go back that far. But again, it's like a weird quirk that the prior owner to Mr. Lounsbury owned it for a really long period of time.
Well, it's kind of confusing because the barber shop he just recently bought, the strip next to the barber shop he recently bought. So, the only thing that could be older would be behind the barber shop, the last
Yeah, remember
20 feet.
Well, and I think so. The part that we're I'm not familiar enough with it all, but that's the issue that I'm being told.
We have to make a resolution or something to say that we don't.
Yeah, but the motion to waive the title formula, the standard title search.
And accept his 39-year title.
Yep. I think it's just a motion to waive the standard title search for this property swap.
I will make a motion to waive.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? Brad?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Rusty?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. And then I guess the only thing I have is a DRI update. So we have a contract for con. We obviously haven't signed it because we haven't brought it to you guys. We're almost there. One thing,
It just got us comments on Thursday last week back.
like a revised draft.
Yep.
So there's one thing we want to go back on. I asked around the fees for the additional services. Hopefully we'll have something to present to the board by next meeting. Or before next meeting, you know what I mean?
Fingers crossed.
We said that last meeting, but we're getting there. Don't,
I don't have a drawing or anything.
no, I'll write it down. I'll ask Abby to come maybe to our next meeting and
I'm a little disappointed by it.
present whatever they finished with, you know what I mean?
Semester ended like in May.
Yeah. Right, something.
And they got our input and just kind of dropped off the face of the email.
Ended.
I think they were done when they handed us those 3.
I think so too.
Based on what they handed us, I don't think I would have passed in class.
Luckily, we're not their teachers. All right, let's see, last thing's public comment. All right, good night, everybody.
I'm part of the public. What do I want?
Tell me when we're on.